Hey guys, thanks for joining me again. I think it's time for another dose of Django, don't you? Let's learn Django's Troublant Bolero. This has become a bit of a gypsy jazz standard, and it's a brilliant song, and it gives us a chance to explore a couple of things that we've not really looked at before. One, a bolero kind of rhythm, which is fairly common in the gypsy jazz world, one of your core rhythm styles. And also some really crunchy chord voicings, including a minor major ninth, which is a hell of a mysterious sounding beast of a chord, and a rather bizarre A13 with a flattened fifth in the bass. And of course the melody itself is going to be really fun to play and full of nice little gypsy jazz tricks and Djangoisms. And I've included an improvised outro section at the end where we can go over some really essential elements of playing gypsy jazz lead guitar, things that are very simple to apply. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, then grab a guitar, make yourself comfortable, and join me for the next 20 minutes or so. As always, you can get the thorough, typed-up lesson materials in tab and notation, Guitar Pro and PDF formats, as well as my backing track, at the links in the description. I do have a Patreon where for the price of a couple of cups of coffee per month, you get access to absolutely all of my lesson materials and a ton of bonus stuff. Or if it's just this lesson you're interested in, you can buy it as a one-off purchase at the Gumroad link. Your support is massively appreciated and it helps me to keep doing this, so thank you so much. Okay, so let's dive right in. For the intro, the rhythm guitar plays this repeating motif. So it's just an octave of E, and then this little semitone down, back and forth. Now for this whole thing, typical gypsy jazz picking style, we're going to use a lot of downstrokes and a lot of rest strokes. One of the key elements in this style, regardless of playing rhythm or lead, is in the right hand technique. It's very important that you free float the wrist and that you have the wrist cocked at this kind of an angle. They call it the broken wrist posture. You can kind of see why, it's just dangling around there. It's got to be kept nice and light so that those fast flicks are possible. Down, up, down, up. And also include a heavy downstroke on the low open E just before doing that flick. And another huge element in this style of music is to use rest strokes wherever possible on your downstrokes, or at least on notes that you really want to accent. The rest stroke technique will give the note a real big, bold, fundamental tone. Let's take our first phrase as an example. I'm going to tilt the guitar this way so you can hopefully see what's happening here. Those downstrokes, I'm hitting the string hard enough and following through to rest the pick on the string underneath. So when I'm picking the low E, the pick ends up resting on the A string. When I'm picking the D string, the pick ends up resting on the G string. And I think for the time being that's as far as we'll go on that. There's a huge rabbit hole to be explored there if you really want to, and it could be worth doing if you want to learn more about the rest stroke and how and why to use it. A couple of weeks ago I actually uploaded a Patreon exclusive lesson, a deep dive into the rest stroke technique. So if you're on there and you haven't seen that yet, do check that out. So as a rhythm guitar player, we just repeat that idea a few times. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, then put a stop in there. Now we begin the A section. Let's go over the chord voicings. E major 9, rooted on the A string. Root, 3rd, 7, 9. We do that for 2 bars. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. And then, one of our interesting new chords. We flatten the 3rd, so we get an E minor, major 9. So you've got the root, the flat 3, still got the major 7, and the 9 on top. This is one of those really dark, mysterious chords that originates from an E melodic minor scale. And then we move on to this really nice A13 sus4 before unsussing it, making it just an A13, hitting the open A string for my bass note, 5th fret of the D string, 7th fret of the G, 7th fret of the B. And then we go to a D major 9 for 2 bars, and then we walk down to a C dominant 9, where we might also include the 5th in the bass, or, as we'll get to in a moment, alternate the bass between the root and the 5th. Then a B9, C9, B9 with a stop, F9, let it hang. So let's simply just play through and lay out the landmarks for the A sections. We have this: 1, 2, 3, 4. E major 9. Minor major 9. A13 sus to A13. D major 9. C9. B9. C9. B9. F9. Second A section, very much the same thing. Minor major 9 again. 13 with a sus. Now here's where it changes. C9 to B9 to E6-9 and then E9. So although we've spoken about those chords a lot in previous lessons, just a quick summary. E6-9, we're playing off the A string, root, 3rd, 6th, 9, and optionally you can bar that top string as well to get the 5th. And then to make it E9, which is E7 with the 9 added, so a dominant chord, we need to bring in the flat 7 on the 7th fret of the G string, so the barring starts to encompass that 3rd string now. And that would be the end of the second A section. That chord opens us up to moving to the B section, which is going to begin with an A minor. So again, if you've seen any of my previous videos, this will look very familiar. This is the 5 of the chord we're about to go to. As you know, any dominant chord is functioning as 5 in some way or another. Now the B section, A minor 7, D9, and then some interesting movement here. G diminished 7 to G6, G sharp diminished 7, B diminished 7, A minor 7 with a quick change to A minor 6, C9, B9, C9, B9, F9, just like before. So the B section would sound like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, A minor 7, D9, half a bar on each of these chords. Then the final final A section, again very much like the other ones, E major 9, E minor major 9, A13 sus to A13, D major 9, C9, B9, E6 9. And then this is where typically if you were going to go around everything again, you'd play the F9 or a B7. Tritone sub there, by the way. Check out my video on that if you haven't seen it yet. And then that would take you back to the first A section and you go around the whole chorus again, as many times as you want. But we're just doing one run through the chorus and then our outro section. So after this E6 9, we're going to go to an A minor 7, A minor 6, and just repeat that change. So that's your 1 chord, 4 minor. Beautiful change to play over. Gives us a good excuse to explore a lot of that gypsy lead stuff. Now the hard bit, the right hand technique on those chords, the bolero rhythm. So slowed down, here's how the pattern sounds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down, down, up, down, up, down, 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 down. So there's only 2 upstrokes in the whole pattern, and they form a part of that fast flick we spoke about with the intro earlier. This whole. Remember to keep the hand very light. And just sort of graze the tops of the strings. Don't go too deep into the strings. Do that for your other strums that do want to be more accented. So the initial hit can be fairly strong, but then when you do the roll, go fairly light, then follow up with another downstroke, but make it staccato. And then another downstroke that isn't staccato, followed by a completely muted downstroke, and then repeat those last 2 strokes again. Like with anything that you learn, it's really important to get it accurate first and do it nice and slow. And then only when you feel like you've genuinely really got it and it tonally sounds very clean and crisp, then start to increase your speed bit by bit. But don't rush that. And eventually, at top speed, you'll have this. Now there's still one thing missing compared to the way we did it. I included a bit of alternating bass wherever possible. Bit of a walk down if you want. All of those are written out in extreme detail on the tab and notation, so if you're finding it hard to follow this live, do get those lesson materials. They're very cheap and they'll really help you out. Also notice that when we're on a chord for only half a bar, we only engage the first half of the pattern each time. That kind of a thing. And that's our pattern throughout. You know, in the B section it's the same kind of thing. And the outro again is no different. Maybe I'll include a bit more walking bass in there now and then. that concludes the rhythm portion of our lesson. Next, let's get on to the lead work.